What's good, everybody? Welcome. It's Friday, March 28th. I do apologize for the late podcast. Usually I try to do this on Thursdays, but the limited line action that didn't really come out until today has really hindered the ability to get a jump on the podcast. Because of the lines and it being a Friday and most people work, it was just going to be me today. So, this is getting to the point in the season where we're starting to find out who the contenders and the pretenders might be. We have some teams from last year that were not good, that did not make the tournament, and we've seen them become risers and vice versa. We've seen teams make Omaha last year and they're off to really slow starts. So it's starting to get to the point where you have to shit or get off the pot. Some of these teams like Florida, who now is 0-7, them trying to get it together and make a run like we saw last year, they were not great. And by the skin of their teeth, they just got into the tournament. And yeah, they made the run to Omaha, but now starting 0-7, it's really tough to come back from. We have Texas A&M, who's 0-6 in SEC play. We'll get to that game in a little bit. But this is a huge series against Kentucky where they need to realistically not just win, but they probably have to sweep with Tennessee on the schedule next week. So we're going to get into a lot of these games. It's going to be a little bit of a lighter breakdown, just considering some of the line movement and games that are not even playable at the moment. But I'm going to also discuss how some of these games were ridiculous prices on Bet365. And then as soon as DraftKings came out, BetMGM, who also took Bet365's numbers, completely switched up once DK gave out their assessment. So without further ado, let's get it started here. Virginia Tech, Wake Forest. It should be Brett Renfro against Logan Lunsford. Lunsford's looked really good to start the season. Wake Forest, to this point, even though they haven't really beaten anybody of note, they've definitely been a lot better than I thought they would be. Their offense, I would say in comparison, not just offense, but pitching as well, the team seems deeper this year than it was last year. I feel like last year that there was more talent, but this year they have a lot of depth. You have Merrick Houston, who's been one of the best players in the country. He's shattering career highs across the board in all these offensive categories. Wake Forest is a team that was actually minus 135 on Bet365. So on my Discord, a lot of these plays were from Bet365. Somehow they're minus 135 at home against VTech, although Renfro for VTech has actually been pretty good. But at this price at minus 230, I think Wake is too big to be playing straight up. So I would look into a money line parlay at home. They play very well in their own building at the Couch. So definitely would look at the Demon Deacons in a parlay for Friday. The next game is one that I'm completely on in terms of money line. The Auburn Tigers are a whopping 2-1 underdog at Georgia. Because Georgia has been winning, not just winning, to 25-2 team, but the way they've been winning. They scored 40 runs at Florida last week in a sweep. Their offense ranks atop the country, if not number one, in a lot of these major categories: home runs, runs scored, WRC plus, and they're doing it not just with a couple of guys. Like Rylan Zaborowski is blossoming into Charlie Condon 2.0. He's batting .467. He's got 14 home runs. Both lead the country. His OPS is north of 1,700. Like he is a legitimate Triple Crown contender at the moment. So with him, Robbie Burnett, Trey Phelps, this is a lineup you have to defend 1 through 9. And that is really challenging. And the fact is, Georgia's got so much flair the way they've been winning, scoring 15, 16, 17 runs in these weekend series games, that it's caught the attention of not just everybody in the college baseball space, but the sports books. So with UGA drawing so much attention over these last couple of weeks, we've seen the shift in sports books start to reflect them being a top 3, top 4 national seed. But this is still the SEC. And the fact is, Charlie Goldstein's going for them today. Goldstein has not been good to start the year. He's got a 9 ERA. He's got 8 walks in 10 innings. He's only gone 10 innings. He hasn't made it past the third in any single outing so far. And you're going against Auburn and Samuel Dutton. Now, Samuel Dutton's been one of these guys. He's kind of a microcosm of Auburn. Auburn's got a lot of talent, but they missed the tournament last year. Dutton didn't really get that much burn in LSU, and then he transfers to Auburn, and all of a sudden he's the Friday night guy, and he's been pitching extremely well. The fact that you're getting Auburn, who's got a really good offense, who's a top, I think they're the 11th ranked team on D1 baseball in the top 25. You're getting them at 2-1, even on the road. That's a wrong number. I feel like getting the Tigers with a pitching advantage on an offense that can do a lot of great things, a team that can score 8, 9, 10 runs, even at Georgia, is a little ridiculous. So I'm on Auburn money line 2-1 straight up. I feel like Auburn gets one this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if they took the series, but getting these kind of numbers when you have the better pitcher going, full allotment of bullpen arms, and we know Georgia's bullpen's been a problem. We saw them completely unravel against Kentucky. I think the Florida series last week against a very, very reeling Gators offense may have skewed the perception a little bit about their pitching being back. And Georgia's on the mound, that's where they need to improve if they really want to make that run into Omaha and possibly even win it this year. A lot of talent, but they haven't been putting it together. And I don't understand why Auburn is this big of a number. I probably would make this line more like Georgia minus 200, Auburn plus 150. So the fact that you're getting this big of a price here is definitely for Auburn. And truth be told, with Auburn throwing their best arm today, there's a good chance that they might not see under 2-1 at any point this weekend. And the fact is they're too talented to be this big of an underdog. So if you played Auburn every single day this week, or every single game this weekend, and they're 2-1 or bigger, you have to hit one to pretty much to at least be down one unit. But I think it'll probably end up being a bigger number as the weekend goes on. Clemson minus 154 against Georgia Tech. It should be Tate McKee going, who's been okay against Aiden Canuck. Aiden Canuck's been a lot better his last couple starts. I know he's had some struggles early in the season. It's honestly bizarre because first time through the lineup, he's just been dotting. He's been unhittable. And we saw that opening day against OK State where he had, I think, 8 strikeouts first time through the order. The second time through the order obviously has been a problem, but it seems like he's getting back into his rhythm. This is a guy that could very well be the top college arm off the board next year. If not, he's going to be top 3, top 5. I don't think he goes lower than that. So getting a pitching advantage, even on the road, Georgia Tech's been playing very, very well. And you have to contend with somebody like Drew Burris, who might be the top pick next year overall. But Clemson, minus 154, top 5 national seed. I think this is a spot where we take the Clemson Tigers to get off to a hot start. And as you can see, we got some DraftKings numbers behind me for just anybody looking at what the live lines are currently doing. And you can see Clemson down here, minus 154. All right, so this is a really interesting game. Oklahoma State, Kansas. Kansas has shown a lot of firepower. This was a team that I talked about being a very interesting dark horse in the Big 12 preseason. For those of you that tuned into the episode on the college experience where we went by conference, Oklahoma State was not a team I was prepared to lay 2-1 or even 3-1 with. I felt like they'll still be good, but even after losing Carson Ben, Zach Earhart, Lane Forsythe, some of these key guys from last year, there were still some holes in this roster. And granted, they're very talented, but it's a streaky OK State team. So much so, I couldn't believe that Bet365 and even BetMGM had Kansas as a 2-1 underdog at home against OK State. The Jayhawks haven't announced a starter. They've been doing this weird TBD thing pretty much every weekend, but the one guy that we know they're most likely to go with is going to be Dom Vagley on Friday night. Vagley's one of the better pitchers in the Big 12. He had a bad outing last week at Arizona State, but, the Sun Devils can rake, and, that was away. And even though Vagley's been inconsistent, I think at home, being an underdog against the Cowboys, who have been even more inconsistent, Harrison Bodorf's been solid, but nothing to write home about. I took Kansas State, and they're on my card at 2-1 because, believe it or not, this was a plus 200 dog at home, and now when DraftKings put their number out, it completely changed the rest of the market, and now the Jayhawks are getting some money, and this is a little bit more in line with a normal Friday line that we'd see. But still, letting OK State minus 166 on the road in a Big 12 rival with the just lack of consistent offense and pitching that they've been getting, it doesn't make any sense to me. So, I definitely think Kansas State here is a good play on Friday. Dom Vagley, this is their chance. This is their good chance to get off to a hot start this weekend after losing the Arizona State series a week ago. Stanford, Virginia. I was actually on Stanford last night, even traveling across country. Matt Scott pitching advantage over Jay Woolfolk. Scott did not look good, and Stanford, coming off getting swept at Cal, immediately drops the Friday one. The Virginia offense was a point of contention that they've been very, very shady this year. This was supposed to be one of the top offenses in the country, maybe the number one offense preseason, but it hasn't resulted in that. And last night, Virginia, give them credit. One area they've really been struggling with this year is runners on base, runners in scoring position, and they delivered. They put up double-digit runs against the Stanford Friday night staff, and you got to give them credit. Jay Woolfolk had a disaster of a second inning, but otherwise he was magnificent. 6 innings, 3 runs, and UVA rode a 6-run seventh inning, I believe, to victory here. I'm probably off this game tonight. It's hard to square either of these teams up at the moment, just the level of inconsistency. But what I'll say is this. Christian Lim is going for Stanford. 7.39 ERA. He's coming off a horrendous start last week against Cal. But for Virginia, it's Thomas Valanchis, the freshman, who's also been bad. He's got 3 poor outings in a row. 5.34 ERA. So for me, I think it's at least interesting to maybe look at a higher scoring matchup in game 2. The over 15 is something that I think is worth considering. But I think overall for game 2, I'm probably going to stay away. My hope is Virginia wins this game, and then maybe we get a decent number tomorrow for game 3 with Joey Volchko going against Evan Blanco. And then maybe I would be interested in taking a shot at Stanford to salvage the series if it indeed goes to Virginia tonight. Another line that's moved a lot is the Oklahoma-Alabama game. This is a really good matchup. If you have any time tonight, I know MLB started yesterday, and some of you might be more interested in watching Major League Baseball, but we're going to have Kyson Witherspoon against Zane Adams tonight for Oklahoma-Alabama. Kyson Witherspoon is shooting up draft boards. I'd be hard-pressed at the moment to find anybody to take over him on the college side for pitching other than Jamie Arnold. I think Kyson Witherspoon at the moment is probably showing himself as the second best college draft-eligible arm off the board at the moment. So the thing is, Witherspoon and Oklahoma are a sizable dog at Alabama, who's been one of these surprises. Bama's look good, and they got Zane Adams going, who's been fantastic this year. I actually gave out the under 14.5 because remember, Bet365 is giving out crazy numbers, And for anybody that was able to see it ahead of time, you had 14 and a half with Alabama and Oklahoma, which is nuts because then it came back down to 10. And now, right now, it's at 11. I think it's interesting. It's hard to bet against Kyson Witherspoon. He was okay against Mississippi State last week, but he went against another stud in Pico Khan, and Mississippi State ended up winning that game. But I probably want to see this total get up a little bit more. If this total hits 11 and a half, even 12, I think it's an under here. I want to take Witherspoon even on the road against a tough team. But the truth is, the way Oklahoma's offense has just been so Jekyll and Hyde, it's very difficult to back them, especially against a really good lefty pitcher in Adams. So I think if there's any play here now with the difference in total, I'd lean towards the under. But for this one, I'd probably rather wait and see this line to see if the total can get up a little bit more. Kentucky, Texas A&M. This is time for Texas A&M. Caden Sorrell's back this weekend. They have one of the top pitching trios for starting rotation any team in the country has, with Prager, Lampkin, Patton on the Sunday roll. They've been unbelievable. I just got back from Nashville last weekend to see Texas A&M Vandy. The pitching was great. It was, but the problem has been the offense. It's quite bizarre why the offense has been struggling so much. Even guys like Lavalette have not been producing. But hopefully this Caden Sorrell return can spark this offense. I felt like Sorrell slotting in is the guy that can bridge the top of the lineup to the bottom of the lineup. And the bottom of the lineup is really where more struggles have been coming from. I really want to take A&M, but I've been getting burned so much on them. I think for me this weekend, I'm probably going to sit back on this series. If anything, I like the A&M unders. 11.5 is a solid price with Prager. Prager's coming off 2 okay starts. He let up 4 runs against Bama 2 weeks ago. He let up 5 runs against Vanderbilt, but he's gone 6 and 7 innings in both of those starts. He's one of, if not the most reliable arms in the country. So I think the under right now is probably the better play than the money line. Because like I said, I'd want to wait and see what A&M is doing. It's almost like a drug. You keep betting A&M because you think, okay, this is the day that they turn it around. And maybe it is. I hope it is. I hope they sweep Kentucky because they really need it with Tennessee on deck. And if they swept Kentucky by some miracle and they go 3-6 in SEC play, then maybe you steal one at Tennessee. And, even if you're 4-9, you still are in position for the rest of the season to get it together and make that run. But I think the under is probably going to be the best look here all weekend for A&M. Hopefully they can get it together, especially on the offensive side. There we go. Sorry. Arkansas Vandy. Another really good pitching matchup. SEC, Zach Root against J.D. Thompson. The total came down. It was 12. Now it's 11.5. I think that's probably the cutoff point for me. I wouldn't go much lower than that. I still think 11.5 on an under is still decent. But if it goes to 11, I think then I'm pretty much off of it. Arkansas's offense has actually been a lot better than I thought it would be, but I'm still not completely sold on them. J.D. Thompson is one of the better arms in the country. He was a guy preseason I had as a top 5 draft eligible arm for the college side. Thompson looked really good against A&M last Friday. And even though Arkansas is hot, I don't know if I'm truly buying it. Plus, not to mention, you have Vanderbilt coming out with the availability of Sawyer Hawks and Miller Green, 2 very dominant bullpen arms. Arkansas, Zach Root has been a little bit shaky since getting slotted into the Friday night role, replacing Gabe Gackle, who's now pitching on Saturday. If I have to pick a side here, I'd probably go Vanderbilt at home. I like Thompson more than Arkansas's route. And even though Vandy's offense is a little bit hit or miss, I think I think getting 124 at home against an Arkansas team that's just a little overrated is a solid play there. Mississippi State LSU. This was a very interesting game for those that were able to watch it last night. Obviously, opening day was going on, so I'm sure a lot of you did not have a chance to catch it. But Mississippi State tagged Cade Anderson for LSU. They got on him early, and the Tigers do what they do, man. They hit. They ended up coming back and racing a 5-run deficit. They ended up winning by 1, I think. They won 7-6, I want to say. And now tonight, it's interesting because Pico Khan did not go yesterday for Mississippi State. Chris Lemonis opted to keep him on regular rest, which we've seen happen, especially early in the season. Pico Khan's been just unbelievable. I mean, this kid's been marvelous. 2.52 ERA, 53 Ks to 7 walks in 35 2/3 innings. Every single time he goes out there, he gives his team a chance to win. Whereas Anthony Ianson he's been a little shaky. 4.5 ERA, 46 Ks to 8 walks, which is great in 32 innings. Mississippi State's 1-6 in SEC play. So what I really am having trouble with is why Mississippi State, with one of the better arms in the country right now, going, is a 3-1 underdog. That makes no sense to me at all. I think Mississippi State is worth a play straight up because of the egregious price. Like, it's a clear pitching advantage for Mississippi State, and you're getting a 3-1 number, even on the road. If you don't want to lay that number, I think the 3.5 is really good. I ended up getting a bad number. And yeah, Bobby, I like that too. I ended up giving out Mississippi State at plus 2.5, but now they're at the 3.5. I gotta be honest. I think they have a chance to win outright. I do. It's Mississippi State's in desperation mode, and you have your best starter. So I don't really understand the thought of LSU being a minus 425 favorite, even at home. So Mississippi State is a team I would definitely look at playing today. Even if you throw like a quarter of a unit on their money line, and maybe you go like half unit to full unit on the run line, getting 3.5, it's very, very appealing to take Mississippi State today for sure. Some of these other games I would like to take a look at. The lines got so crushed. So teams like, Florida State and some of these other teams are just not really appealing at the moment. But one game I find a little bit more interesting is Miami UNC. UNC was a big team of mine in the preseason. I had them in the Omaha 8. I like them to win the ACC, and they've struggled. They were barely able to they're barely able to beat Boston College last week. I know they throttled them on the Sunday game, but the Friday and Saturday game wasn't as convincing as I was hoping it would be. And they're home against Miami. Now, Miami's not a good team. And Nick Robert, the Friday guy from Miami, who was good, but he's been just getting shelled his last 3 starts. UNC, I think, is an interesting parlay piece. I'm not ready to lay these big numbers on UNC right now. This is a series that UNC needs to sweep. They got to pick up 3 wins, get themselves back into the running for the ACC, because honestly, there's still a lot of time left. And I'm not necessarily sold on some of these other squads to come in and win it. Double vision with a comment here. Thoughts on Jamie Arnold going today after a previous bad outing? Jamie Arnold and FSU were on my card. Believe it or not, there was a 165 on FSU on Bet365 this afternoon when the lines open, and it got out to 180. So I hit both of them basically as a 2-unit play. And FSU immediately, when DraftKings opened up their numbers, was minus 600 at Notre Dame. I think they're actually past minus 700 now, which is while. But Jamie Arnold did not look good last week at Miami. I would be amazed if he had 2 bad outings in a row. I think this is a game where Jamie Arnold is going to right the ship, get back to doing what he does, 6 shutout innings, 10 strikeouts, look like a guy who could realistically be the number 1 pick this summer. But honestly, FSU at this point at minus 720 is a little ridiculous to even put in a parlay. 4.5 run line is a little thick for me, but if you wanted to take a shot, that's the only way I would really be able to get involved in it. But Notre Dame might have a team total here. I think maybe Notre Dame under 4.5 team total. It's a little juice to the under at minus 125. They're at home, but Jamie Arnold, full Friday night allotment of bullpen arms. I think that might be an even better way to attack this market for the Seminoles Notre Dame game. Jamie Arnold, I expect a much better outing, and because you have a Friday night well-rested bullpen, they can certainly shut down Notre Dame. This is a game that FSU needs to win something along the lines of like 10-1 or mercy them by 10 runs through 7. There's another game I wanted to discuss. If I could find it. Oh, here we go. Florida Atlantic. Not much action on FAU this year for me. The lines have not really been out enough for me to back the Owls, but even on the road at a good UTSA team, a team that I think took the series against Dallas Baptist a couple weeks ago. FAU plus 130 with Trey Beard going. I don't know if many of you have followed what Trey Beard's doing, but he's been one of the top pitchers in the country this year. I mean, the kid has just been lights out. FAU's got an offense that's pretty decent, solid power, good average, get some steals. And I know UTSA is good, and they have a good Friday guy going in Zach Royce, who's also been, I want to not incredible, but definitely above average. Other than Royce's one disaster at DBU a couple weeks ago, where he let up 10 earned in 2 innings, the guy's been money. I think he went 7 innings, 2 runs last week against Charlotte. So FAU, while it is a tough place to play at UTSA, they're going against a good pitcher. I think getting Trey Beard at plus 130 is something that I would take a look at if you're inclined to grab another plus money dog. Just pitching is so big in baseball, but college baseball especially. You get a guy like Beard at plus money. That's one that's definitely worth looking into for sure. Let's see where else. ASU, Utah. It should be Ben Jacobs again. Drawing a blank. 1 second. I think it's Colton. Where is it? Colton. Oh, Coulter McNally. 2.23 ERA, 0.89 WHIP, 45 Ks, 10 walks in 40 1/3. He's coming off 8 shutout innings, 12 strikeouts against Oklahoma State last Friday. Absolutely marvelous performance from him. And Ben Jacobs has definitely been a lot better. He had a decent start against Kansas last week, 4 innings, 8 Ks, 1 run, but he did walk 7, so that's obviously not good. But Arizona State's offense is dangerous. I know Kean Vu's been out. I don't know when he's going to come back, but ASU minus 180. I don't know if I'm as confident in laying it straight. Maybe something I would throw in a parlay with like Texas. Texas is north of $3 at Mizzou, but they have Jared Spencer going. This is a spot where I'd probably like to parlay ASU and Texas for a little plus money, something in the ballpark of plus 110, I want to say. So I think Arizona State can edge it out there even on the road. They've looked really good so far in Big 12 play. Let's see. There's one more game. California, Louisville. Louisville at home is -160. It should be Patrick Forbes against Austin Turkington for Cal, who's developed into a really nice Friday starter. Yeah, Bobby. I think the ASU team total over with Utah's Friday guy going is something that I might be a little bit more hesitant on, but ASU's bullpen is definitely something that I still worry about. So maybe if you like the team total, I don't hate it. But Cal Louisville, Forbes Turkington is a really good underrated pitching matchup in the ACC. Cal traveling cross country. Cal's coming off sweeping at Stanford. They ended up blowing the series against Virginia 2 weeks ago. But I feel like, and it's an unofficial play, but I feel like the 14.5 is a little big for two good pitchers. Forbes, his numbers may not reflect it, but he's actually been pretty good. He had a subpar outing last week at the Hokies, but I think 14.5 here is a little big for two pretty good pitchers in the ACC. Plus, Louisville's got a stud in the bullpen and Tucker Biven, who's their closer. What do you think a fair Tennessee money line is? They're -475. I think I would say somewhere between -4 and 500 is fair for Tennessee right now. Liam Doyle's going. He needs to make amends for that start against Alabama last week. So I want to say Tennessee is fair money. I think Doyle's going to have a good start this week. It's Jake McCoy going for South Carolina. Jake McCoy was the Friday guy to start, but he's been a disaster, whether it's in relief or it's starting. He's got a 6.57 ERA. Strikeouts are good with 45, but Tennessee's offense it's too good. So even on the road, I might consider something along the lines of like Tennessee run line -3.5, or you can take I think the team total at 9.5 is probably a bit high for my taste. So I might look at something like 3.5, because if Liam Doyle is back to what we've seen from him, I don't know how much scoring South Carolina is going to do. And chances are, you have Nate Snead coming in to maybe close out the last 1 to 3 innings. So if Doyle goes 6 strong and Nate Snead comes in for an inning or two and you have somebody bridge it in the pen, I feel like South Carolina's scoring opportunities tonight could be limited. And on the plus side, Jake McCoy is just not really pitching well. And I feel like Tennessee's offense is primed for a big one tonight. They've been able to get after pretty much every pitcher that they faced. I don't know when Gavin Killen's coming back. Hopefully it's this weekend. I think he's missed the last 4 or 5 games. He got injured last week in the midweek against ETSU. So if Killen's back especially, I think they can win relatively convincingly. Double vision, any interest in backing Bremner, UCSB? No, not at all. I took a shot last week with Bremner at home at a short -125 price against UCI. And granted, Irvine's a really good team, and that's a Big West slugfest. Those were thought to be the 2 teams that had the best chance to win the conference preseason. I think we throw Hawaii in there right now. Operation Honolulu for regional is very much alive. But at Long Beach State, I probably would avoid it. I don't even think I'd throw Santa Barbara in a parlay right now, because the thing is, Bremner hasn't been that great. He's been solid, but he's been something of a disappointment. I think, especially in the conference that they play in, we expected UCI, or we expected Santa Barbara to be a lot better. We expected Bremner to be showing that he's deserving of being the top 2 arm off the board this year, potentially a top 3 pick in general. But it's their offense. Their offense is not good. And I think that was the main thesis coming into this year. When Santa Barbara, when Santa Barbara's pitching is not good, it's a real problem for them, because their hitting is just not capable of consistently putting up 6, 7, 8 runs when you need them to pick up a pitching performance. Jackson Flora was great the first few starts, and he's looked really bad. And I still think Flora is going to be fine. I have Flora as one of the top arms off the board next year. Like, the kid stuff is unreal. I just think there's some tweaks he has to make in location decisions. The best arm for Santa Barbara this year has been Calvin Prosky, their third Sunday starter, or their Sunday starter. He looked really good against Irvine. The bullpen ended up imploding. I think they allowed a seven-run inning on Sunday in the 7th inning, I want to say, against the Anteaters. But I'm not interested in backing Tyler Bremner in Santa Barbara, especially at a minus 250 price. Long Beach State, they don't get a lot of recognition, but this is a pretty solid team. This is a team that can definitely upset the apple cart and come away with a big underdog win at a huge price. A couple more here. NC State Duke, relatively even matchup, 125, 105. Duke's looked a lot better since Kyle Johnson has gotten taken out of the Friday night role. I think it's Owen Prosch going. But I don't feel confident in either team. I was down on both teams coming into this year, so I feel like Duke right now, even though they've looked a lot better, I don't know if I'm all the way back on them. Dom Fritton as the Friday guy has been really, really good to start the year, 1.5 ERA. 125 is a good price, and the way Fritton's been throwing, I'd probably lean NC State. It's not official, but you're getting them at 125, even on the road at Duke. I would tend to go with the side of the Wolfpack in this one. Last one that I did want to touch on, if I can find it. Sorry. I think there it is. Texas Tech, Kansas State. Mac Hoyer going for Texas Tech. Kansas State, they screwed me opening day against Washington, and I didn't like how they looked the first weekend, but I got to give them credit. They've played really well since, and they look like a formidable team, 16-8, and they're at home against Texas Tech, who can score, but they have major bullpen concerns. I don't love their starting rotation. Jacob Frost has been decent. I think Kansas State's an interesting team if you want to take them straight. Minus 180 is a fair price at home the way they've been playing. Otherwise, you could throw the K-State team into a money line parlay, along with maybe like an ASU, a Texas. I think that is probably a decent look if you want to get involved on Kansas State this weekend. That'll do it for me. Short show, so I apologize for the late ad. I know normally I give I usually give the Thursday night show, and I give a little bit more of a heads up on when the podcast is going to be. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Best of luck this weekend. Go win some money, and I'll see you back here next week. Thanks, everybody.